David is a fucking asshole. David is a shit man. He is garbage. Like everybody's like, oh, David had his rough spots. No, David had his okay moments. He's a bad dude. And it's so funny that we like go through and we're like, and look, there's prior to the Jews getting a king from God, they had judges, the book of Judges. And they had these judges who ran the society. And they had these judges that did it. And they're like, we want a king. We want a king. God's like, no, you don't. No, you don't. You don't want a king. And they're like, no, we want a king. He'd be great. He'd put him on the throne, make it of gold. Well, not too much gold, a little bit, maybe on the outside, gold. We want a king. We want to do this. And God's like, if I give you a king, he's going to be bad. This is going to suck. You don't want a king. Trust me. And they're like, give us a king. So they're like, here you go. And then they go through this list of kings and they're all bad. They're all terrible. And God's like, I told you. But then the Jews are like, no, they're not bad. Stop hitting me, David. Stop hitting me. He's really good when he's not drinking and killing his soon-to-be wives as husbands, right? David's a shit dude all over the place. And we just glossed this. So here we go. I'm going to read this story to you. Now, when I read this story to you, this is important. Forget anything you know about the Bible. And when you hear the name David, think like Tony Soprano instead of David. Okay. So this is 1 Samuel 25. Now Samuel died, chump, and all Israel assembled and mourned for him, and they buried him at his home in Ramah. I want to be buried in my house. That'd be cool. Then David moved down into the desert of Maon. A certain man in Maon who had property there at Carmel was very wealthy. Oh, okay. Okay. He had 1,000 goats and 3,000 sheep. Very wealthy. 3,000. How do I charge interest on a sheep? I've got interest in a sheep, which he was shearing in Carmel. His name was Nabal, and his wife's name was Abigail. Ooh, hey, what up, girl? She was an intelligent and beautiful woman, but her husband, a Calebite, was surly and mean in his dealings. Okay, sure. While David was in the desert, he heard that Nabal was shearing sheep. Just shearing some sheep. So he sent 10 young men and said to them, go up to Nabal at Carmel and greet him in my name. So go tell him that you're here with David. Say to him, long life to you, good health to you and your household, and good health to all that is yours. Okay. Are you fucking kidding me? Tony Soprano says, so I send these 10 young guys. They go up to him. They say, hey, long life to you, good health to you, all of your household. And good health to all that's yours, good health to everybody. Great health. Now I hear, he says, now I hear that it is sheep shearing time. When your shepherds were with us, we did not mistreat them. And the whole time they were at Carmel, nothing of theirs was missing. We protected them, right? We kept it good. Ask your own servants, and they'll tell you, therefore, be favorable towards my young men. Since we come at a festive time, please give your servants and your son David whatever you can find for them. Oh, okay. So wait a minute. Nabal's shearing his sheep up in Carmel. David's like, you know what? I was protecting that place. We kept it safe. We kept it moving. We were good to you. Now, gonna need you to be good back. Okay? When I told this story, people did not fucking believe that this is the story. But listen to this this is what it says. This is words. When David's men arrived, they gave Nabal this message in David's name. Then they waited. Nabal answered David's servants, Who's this David? Who is this son of Jesse? Many servants are breaking away from their masters these days. Why should I take my bread and my water and the meat that I have slaughtered for my shearers and give it to men coming from who knows where? Wait. I don't know this, David. Oh, he was protecting me? He was protecting me? Hey, Frank, whoever says you was a cop, right? From Scarface. Who said you was a cop, Frank? He's like, I don't know this David guy. Who the fuck's Jesse? David's men turned around and went back. When they arrived, they reported every word. David said to his men, put on your swords. So they put on their swords, and David put on his. About 400 men went up with David, while 200 stayed with the supplies. Okay? One of the servants told Nabal's wife, Abigail, motherfucker's like, we're going back. 400 men. 400 men with David. Won't give us some bread? I'll shoot him some fucking bread. One of the servants told Nabal's wife, Abigail, David sent messengers from the desert to give our master his greetings, but he hurled insults at them. Yet these men were very good to us. They protected us. They did. They did not mistreat us, and the whole time we were out in fields near them, nothing was missing. Night and day, they were a wall around us. All the time, we were herding our sheep near them. Did you ask to be encircled by these guys? Did you ask for the protection? I don't know. Now think it over and see what you can do, because disaster is hanging over our master and his whole household. He's such a wicked man that no one can talk to him. Abigail lost no time. She took 200 loaves of bread, 2 skins of wine, 5 dressed sheep, 5 seahs of roasted grain, 100 cakes of raisins, California raisins, 100 cakes of pressed figs, giggity, and loaded them onto donkeys. Then she told her servants, go on ahead, I'll follow you. But she did not tell her husband Nabal. Okay, didn't tell him. As she came riding her donkey into a mountain ravine, there were David and his men descending toward her, and she met them. David had just said, it's been useless, all my watching over this fellow's property, which he didn't ask for, in the desert so that nothing of his was missing. He has paid me back evil for good. Oh, okay. May God deal with David, be it ever so severely, if by morning I leave alive one male of all who belong to him. So David and his 400 men are going to go kill this dude and everybody else. All the men. All the men. Just the men, though. Well, they're probably going to leave the women there. Right? When Abigail saw David, she quickly got off her donkey and bowed down before David with her face to the ground. Face down, booty up. She fell at his feet and said, my Lord, let the blame be on me alone. Please let your servant speak to you. Hear what your servant has to say. May my Lord pay no attention to that wicked man Nabal. He is just like his name. His name is Fool, and folly goes with him. But as for me, your servant, I did not see the men my master sent. So she's face down, booty up, saying, I'm here to serve you. Quote, now since the Lord has kept you, my master, from bloodshed and from avenging yourself with your own hands, as surely as the Lord lives and as you live, may your enemies and all who intend to harm my master be like Nabal. And let this gift, which your servant has brought to my master, be given to the men who follow you. Please forgive your servant's offense, for the Lord will certainly make a lasting dynasty for my master, because he fights the Lord's battles. Let no wrongdoing be found in you as long as you live. Even though someone is pursuing you to take your life, the life of my master will be bound securely in the bundle of the living by the Lord your God. But the lives of your enemies he will hurl away as a pocket from a sling, when the Lord has done for my master every good thing he promised concerning him, and he has appointed him leader over Israel. My master will not have on his conscience the staggering burden of needless bloodshed or of having avenged himself. And when the Lord has brought my master success, remember your servant. Look. Take all this. Take all the money and supplies. Look, you're going to be king someday. It's going to be cool. Like, everything's going to go great. Your enemies Just don't fucking kill us. David said to Abigail, praise be to the Lord God of Israel, bitch, who has sent you today to meet me. May you be blessed for your good judgment and for keeping me from bloodshed this day and from avenging myself with my own hands. Okay, cool. Great. Otherwise, as surely as the Lord, the God of Israel lives, who has kept me from harming you, if you had not come quickly to meet me, not one male belonging to Nabal would have been left alive by daybreak. You would have killed everybody. Then David accepted from her hand what she had brought him and said, go home in peace, girl. I've heard your words and granted your request. When Abigail went to Nabal, he was in the house holding a banquet like that of a king. He was in high spirits and very drunk, so she told him nothing until daybreak. Then in the morning, when Nabal was sober, his wife told him all these things, and his heart failed him, and he became like a stone. About 10 days later, the Lord struck Nabal, and he died. When David heard that Nabal was dead, he's dead. Nabal dies. God kills him. David heard that Nabal was dead. He said, praise be to the Lord, who has upheld my cause against Nabal for treating me with contempt. He has kept his servant from doing wrong and has brought Nabal's wrongdoing down on his own head. So God kills Nabal. God does. No poison, nothing. Definitely. Then David sent word to Abigail, asking her to become his wife. His servants went to Carmel and said to Abigail, David sent us to take you to become his wife. Bitch, get in the car. She bowed down with her face to the ground, face down, booty up again, and said, here is your maidservant ready to serve you and wash the feet of my master's servants. Abigail quickly got on a donkey and, attended by her 5 maids, went with David's messengers and became his wife. David had also married Ahinoam of Jezreel, and they both were his wives. But Saul had given his daughter Michal, David's wife, to Paltiel, son of Laish, who was from Galim. So now David's got 3 bitches, although Saul took one of them. Saul took one of those bitches. He's got 2 wives, one of whom he went up, ran a protection racket. The guy's like, I don't know who the fuck you are. Like, oh, fuck you, pay me. He doesn't pay him. His bitch does. He dies because we're just supposed to believe that, we're supposed to believe this story. We're supposed to believe this story. And again, if you put that story in The Sopranos, you know that somebody offs Nabal, not God, probably Abigail, because David's going to be king, so he's going to be top pimp. So she's going to go with him. But my man sends his messengers. They're strapped. They're like, hey, man, you're going to have to pay up. He's like, I don't know you. I don't fuck with you. I got my own shit there. I have my own protection people. I'm shearing sheep. I got motherfuckers in the islands and stuff with swords and shit. Like, no, that was us. We did it. He's like, I've never even heard you. I've never met you. I want to give you a bunch of stuff. David's like, no, pay up, bitch. You got to give me money. Where's my money? Where's my money? Doesn't give him the money, dies, and then he takes his woman. And I'm sitting here going, pastor at the church read this story, and he's talking over and over about how great Abigail was because she recognized the potential in David. He was going to be the king of Israel. And I'm like, this is not a good story. This is not a good story at all. What the fuck is this? And there's nothing about how shitty David is there. David's an asshole in this story. Absolutely fucking terrible. And you find that to be really common with David. And we forget that. And the reason I love this story is because it just jars right back into memory, like how much of a prick David is throughout the Bible. He's consistently a man after God's own heart. But maybe we're reading that part wrong. And this is the part that's interesting to me. And one of the themes I want to explore with my exploring faith or exploring Christianity or whatever series that I want to do coming up here on Locals, that this is again a little preview for it. It's exploring what that means, the man after God's own heart. Because we always assume that means David was a great man and that he had these mistakes and God forgave these little mistakes because he's great and he's the model that we use, and the Jews venerate him. He's venerated by Christians. But maybe being a man after God's own heart, the important part is not that David fucked up from time to time, but that David was all around a piece of shit. All around, David is garbage. He's not good. He's not great. He's not this vaunted figure. That the man after God's own heart is also the piece of shit. Like the worst guy. Like that's who God's after. That's who God is in and saving and for, and all of this shit is not supposed to be like this is an aspirational David. It's aspirational to never be David. This is only the first man that David marries the widow of right after they miraculously die. The other one he sends off to go die, right? Bathsheba's husband. He sends him to the front line of the war so that he will die so he can marry that chick. This guy dies by God, and we have to just assume that wasn't by one of David's servants poisoning some water or poisoning some wine or whatever, or Abigail causing this motherfucker to die.